Well, John Tortorella knows how to make news, and he knows how to change my plans for videos this morning. Got 20 jerseys hanging right here, ready to continue the countdown, and then I'm looking at the headlines and I'm like, oh, wait, what? So let's go through this. The Penguins general manager, Jim Rutherford, fired a lob at the Columbus Blue Jackets. And I don't know if he meant to do this or if he's just like, well, they won't hear me because I'm just talking to Pittsburgh media. He said of Jack Johnson, I don't think he had a bad year. He was a healthy scratch at the end of the season. I know the reason why it wasn't because of how he was playing. So this hints at either a rift between him and John Tortorella, just there was something off the ice that was keeping him out of the lineup. Not the fact that he wasn't producing when he was in the lineup. Not the fact that he was in the lineup, he didn't look productive. Remember now, at the end of the season, not at the end of the season, but around the trade deadline, it was clear that Columbus wanted to move him. And he didn't get moved. Obviously, their asking price wasn't met. And there was speculation at the time that there wasn't a whole lot of interest in Jack Johnson. Now, upon hearing this, Kekalainen, the GM of Columbus, said, I have no idea what he's talking about. If he thinks it was something else, he knows something that me and John Tortorella don't. He meant Tortorella and I. Totally coach's decision. Nothing else. What do you think? We didn't want to win in the playoffs? We put the best defensive lineup possible out every night. And in the playoffs in particular. And he was already a UFA. So what do we care? It raises a really good point. What team in their right mind holds a guy out of the lineup when they're in the playoffs? They can help them win in the playoffs. John Tortorella may be a guy who has personal rifts with people, but he's not going to let that personal rift decide on who's playing on any given night in the playoffs. He's a good coach. It's funny, too, because the year before, when Jack Johnson had a great year, there was no discussion about this at all. So he said we were trying to put our best possible lineup on the ice. I have no idea what anybody else could be speculating about. Tortorella told the Athletic he was angered by both Rutherford and Johnson, who said Sunday he was looking to be in a winning culture as a reason for signing in Pittsburgh. The thing that pisses me off the most as a general manager in this league is questioning and talking about our decision making. Tortorella said, "Shut the up." Yeah. He's Jack and I had an open, honest conversation all through this. Jack and I have known each other forever, and I love the guy. There's no agenda here. You think that's an easy decision for me after what Jack Johnson has been in this league and what he is? But that can't get in my way as far as making the right decisions for this hockey club, and that's all we do. So Rutherford should shut the up. Yeah. Johnson requested a trade from the Blue Jackets last season when it became clear he wasn't in the team's long-term plans. The team held on to him through the trade deadline, however, and Johnson finished with a career low 1933 of ice time per game. The Jackets made the playoffs in each of the past two seasons since Tortorella joined the team in 2015-16. Johnson's winning culture struck a nerve with his former head coach, who said Johnson wouldn't return his call on Sunday. That's what pisses me off, Tortorella said. He doesn't have enough balls to call me back, because I've tried to get in touch with him. You don't on an organization that's done nothing but try to help you. We all know Jack has had some problems along the way here. It's very well chronicled. All we've tried to do is effing help him. He's I love the in guy. I've had him on the Olympic team. I get him on the World Cup team. I love the guy. But for him to do this is ridiculous. He's got to start pointing the finger at himself, not other people. If I'm a former teammate of his and I get to play against him next year, my gosh. Did he actually say my gosh? I wouldn't be surprised if the person writing this article got tired of taking expletive deleteds out. It feels like I'm in Jay and Silent Bob Strikes Back. Johnson told The Athletic he was simply pointing to the Penguins' 2 Stanley Cup wins over the past 3 seasons and that he was not trying to slight the Blue Jackets in any way. November 24th in Pittsburgh's the first meeting between the two teams. Now look, Jack Johnson wants to sign in Pittsburgh. What he should have said is, I think this is my best chance at a Stanley Cup. And that's about as far as he needs to go. Winning culture? I don't know if anybody pointed out to him where Columbus has been the last couple of years in the standings, and both years they got knocked out by the Stanley Cup champions, and they were relatively close to knocking out Washington. They win that game 3. They come out of that series against Washington, and who knows? Columbus might have won the Stanley Cup. I watched a lot of Columbus games last year, and I really honestly I understood why Tortorella wasn't playing him when he wasn't playing him. It honestly never bothered me. Columbus is deep on the blue line, and I didn't have a problem with them not playing Johnson. And I really think Johnson was held on to through the trade deadline because they just weren't offered anything back that made it worth giving him up. He's still in your lineup. You may still need him. Guys get injured. You don't want to give up a defenseman just because you have a rift with him, just because he's asked to be traded, and then regret that after the trade deadline when somebody gets hurt and you're going to need that guy and he's not there anymore. It's going to be interesting to see what happens throughout this season with a team like Columbus, because I think they're in a spot where they can still win. They absolutely can, and they kind of get forgot because, of course, Pittsburgh's trying to win 3 out of 4. Washington's trying to win back-to-back. Tampa, of course, has put together this kind of a super team. And now we've got Toronto with John Tavares, who absolutely are Stanley Cup contenders. And Columbus is kind of a forgotten team in the East. So we'll see where it goes this year. Because Tortorella, as fiery as he is and as entertaining as he is in an interview, he does tend to get under the skin of certain people. So we'll see if that's the case, and we'll see if at what point that happens with his team, and he ends up being shuffled off. And it's not an insult to Tortorella. It's just when a coach has that fiery personality, at some point it's going to grate against his players, and he's probably going to end up looking for another job. It's not an insult at all. Pat Burns had kind of that same thing, and Burns was like my favorite coach. So Torts with this interview, he moves up the list to me, and I have to say this, okay? Now, if what Jack Johnson and Jim Rutherford are insinuating is true, that he was held out of the lineup not because he wasn't in the top 6, but because of some other phantom reason in Columbus, and if it's true, why would Tortorella be trying to call him yesterday? The first thing John Tortorella did was pick up the phone and try calling him to say, Jack, what are you talking about? You know why you're held out of the lineup. So in this argument, I'm siding with Tortorella, because I it doesn't make any sense to hold a guy out of the lineup just over a grudge. And I don't even understand what that exactly would have been. He was not having a good season. So for Rutherford to come out and say, I don't think he had a bad year, I think he was fine. Well, then I'm sorry, Jim, but you didn't do your homework. And I'm not saying that Jack Johnson won't have a bounce back year in Pittsburgh. He absolutely can. But he had a miserable season in Columbus this past season. Just miserable. So for them at this point to sign the contract that they did is fine. Great. He's signing Pittsburgh for the next 5 years. But to say, oh, he had a good year. No, Columbus just didn't treat him right. Seriously? Columbus last year was one of the top teams in the league, and this year they're still in the playoffs. And, they could have been better, but the big thing is they can absolutely be better this season as well. They can move back up the standings. So I'm really not sure why do that? Why fire that shot? Why would Rutherford come out and just, fire that shot? I don't understand it. So, anyways, let me know what you guys think in the comment section below. If you're a Columbus fan, let me know how you feel about this. If you're a Penguins fan or a Jim Rutherford fan, Jack Johnson fan, I guess. There's numerous different fandoms you can be a part of. You could be a fan of all of them. So let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. Don't forget to hit like and subscribe if you're browsing your way through. You just happened upon this video. And Tortorella, never change. Never, never, never change. I'll talk to you guys again soon.